Hare Krishna.
Hare Krishna, Guru.
Now it is audible. It is clear.
Yes, Prabhuji, it is audible and it is clear.
Okay.
Yeah, much better, Prabhuji, much better.
It is much better. Okay. Extremely sorry for the inconvenience. Let's see how it goes today. Today, much topic is not there. We have a brief discussion. We will end the chapter today. So I'm starting it. Om Jnanatimirandhasya Jnananjana-shalakaya Chakshurunmilitam Jena Tasmai Shri Gurave Namah. Shri Chaitanya Manobhishtam Sthapit Vandeham Shri Guru Shri Judapada Kamalam Shri Guru Vaishnavanscha Shri Rupam Sagrajata Sahagana Raghunathanvitam Tam Sajivam Sadhaitam Savadhutam Parijana Sahitam Krishna Chaitanya Devam Shri Radha Krishna Padan Sahagana Lalita Shri Vishakhanvitanscha Namo Vishnu Padaya Vishnu Prishtaya Bhutale Srimate Bhaktivedanta Swami Iti Namine Namaste Saraswate Deve Gauravani Pracharine Nirvishesho Shunyavadi Paschatya Deshatarine Namo Vancha Kalpatarubhascha Kripa Sindhubheva cha Patitanang Pavanebhyo Vaishnavebhyo Namo Jai Shri Krishna Chaitanya Prabhu Nityananda Shri Advaita Gadadhar Shri Vasadi Gaura Bhakta Vrinda Hare Krishna 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 Hare 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 Rama Ram Ram Hare Hare. So we are starting the second part of method of instruction Upadeshamrita. So we have already discussed everyone should mute yourself. Getting some sound on. So the one question was there. First I will have a brief discussion on the assignment that I have given. The ultimate mission or ultimate objective of Krishna consciousness is what? The one is ultimate goal is that to become a pure devotee. And what will happen after becoming pure devotee? After becoming pure devotee, we will able to, particularly for the Gauriya Vaishnavism, the philosophical line in the Gauriya Vaishnavism is that in the purest stage, we will follow the footstep of Lord Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu and will appreciate the intimate pastime of Radha and Krishna. That is actually desired. And we should become a menial instrument. The significant, the perfection of pure devotional service is to become the menial servant in helping the conjugal love between Radha and Krishna. To appreciate the Radha and Krishna. The gopis, those who are the most intimate servant of Radha and Krishna, they are actually doing that thing only. They are actually increasing the mellows of exalted reciprocation of Radha and Krishna. So that is the ultimate goal of Krishna consciousness. That is what Srila Prabhupada has mentioned in the preface. But so that is the most exalted goal. Okay. But for our level now, what is required to be done? The first stage, because we are not at that that stage of exalted pastime. So at our level, we need to appreciate the footstep of Goswamis. So what is the footstep of Goswamis? And to become the pure devotees of the Goswamis. And that's why the first duty is to stop serving mind and senses. That means instead of becoming Godash, we have to become Goswami. That is required to be done. And for that, we need to promote ourselves to the platform of Shattaguna. This is the primary goal. Primary goal is to come to the platform of Shattaguna, because we are now not able to become pure devotee, or not able to become we cannot stop serving mind and senses, because we are captivated by the two modes, particularly the mode of ignorance and mode of passion, Rajo and Tamogun. Rajo and Tamogun. So that's why we need to appreciate this thing, that we first have to come to this platform, that we can control our mind and senses. And the verse number 1 is all about that how we can come to that stage. And when we will able to do that, another goal is, another objective of Ishopanishad is to develop the proper mood, the inner attitude, the consciousness. That's why the advancement in Krishna consciousness depends on the attitude of the follower. The attitude is the inner purification. Last time we have discussed in detail. And last time we have seen this thing, that the progression of how the progression is there in our devotional service. So this we have already discussed. So today we are coming to we have discussed till paragraph 9, and we have discussed that till paragraph 9, 1 to 9, actually Srila Prabhupada has given his own original commentary on this verse number 1. And from paragraph 10 to 19, he has referred the purport given by his Guru Maharaj, that is Srila Bhaktisiddhanta Saraswati Thakur. And the name of the purport is Anubritti purport. So based on that, today we will discuss. And the paragraph 10 is, we have discussed this thing actually already. So we were completed up to this point. Yes. So this Anubritti purport, today we will discuss from Bhaktisiddhanta Saraswati Thakur. And actually Bhaktisiddhanta Saraswati Thakur's father, who is the Bhakti Vinod Thakur, he has given Tijusha Varshini Vritti. That is another commentary of Nectar of Instruction. So Vritti means what? Acting for one's livelihood in a manner suited to one's personal nature. Such action may be carried out either in pursuit of selfish desire or in accordance with the laws of God. So that is the Vritti. So we will now understand that the Vritti is always, everyone is having some Vritti. Vritti means the way of livelihood, the lifestyle, we can say. So acting one's livelihood in a manner suited for personal nature. Everyone has their own lifestyle. Normally we tell something that I have one lifestyle. Everyone has their own lifestyle. So that lifestyle is a Vritti. Now that lifestyle can be accordance with the laws of God and accordance with our selfish mentality. So that depends upon what lifestyle we are leading. So Anubritti means, actually if we follow the Anubritti lifestyle, that means what we are doing, we are following a bona fide spiritual master. We are following the previous acharjas. If accordingly, if we lead our life, then that becomes Anubritti. So that is actually we need to be done so that we can become exalted devotees like them. If we follow their footsteps, we can become a pure devotee like them. So that is actually required. So paragraph 10, Srila Prabhupada is referring from Anubritti purport of Srila Bhakti Siddhanta Saraswati Thakur, the three urges. The Srila Bhakti Siddhanta Saraswati Thakur has categorized the urges into three categories. One is the urge of speech, another is urge of mentality of the mind's urge, and another is bodily urge, that is the physical urge. So one can be vocal, mental, and physical. These three urges we have inside us. So that is the categorization. So now coming to the point of starting with the paragraph 11 and 12 is dealing with the control of speech. The control of speech, in the control of speech, why that there are three categories. There are three level of uncontrolled speech or uncontrolled, or we can say that the three level of speech which can hamper our progress in Krishna consciousness. What are those three categories of speeches, or what are the three categories of we can say that unwanted speech? That is, one is Mayavadi's misinterpretations. The Mayavadis are giving many different varieties of misinterpretation of the Shastra, of the Vedic knowledge. So, and they are writing and they are giving lecture and they are propagating this Mayavadi philosophy. And what is this Mayavadi philosophy? In nutshell, the Mayavadi philosophy means thinking everything as Maya, even thinking Krishna's existence as Maya. Actually, we thinking that means actually this the first preliminary understanding of Mayavadi philosophy is very, very similar to our own philosophy. What they are telling? They are telling that Brahma Sattva Jagat Mitha. Okay, they are telling the Jagat is Mitha. This material world is Mitha, and Brahma Sattva. Brahma is Sattva. That supreme absolute truth is only true. Apart from that, nothing is true. So at one level, it is correct. How it is correct? The Jagat is Mitha in actually means it is not existing perpetually. It is existing temporally. The temporality can be termed as a Mitha, means it is not actually existing. Today, I am existing in my body, but tomorrow I will not be existing. I may not be existing, or after say 100 years, this body will not exist. I will not be there on this planet in this form. In this body, I will not be there. So this body, which now is visible, will not be visible after 100 years, or after 200 years will not be visible. So that means it is not existing perpetually. So this is actually in the planet, and more than that, this body is actually changing every minute, every microsecond. It is changing. It is always changing. The Dehi Nashmin Jatha Dehe, that verse is there. The Bhagavad Gita, Krishna is telling that this body is changing. So that means this material body is actually, if something is changing, can we say that it is existing? Because it is not existing. It is always changing. And if you read Srila Prabhupada Bhagavad Gita, Srila Prabhupada is referring to modern science that the body, each and every moment, the blood corpuscles are changing. According to modern biological science, also it is changing. So it is actually changing. So their understanding is that the body is Mitha. So that is also, we are also understanding this body is Mitha, and the Brahma is only Shakti. That is also okay. But now they are limiting that everyone is actually, each and everyone's existence, each and every living entity's existence, whom we are able to see in this material world, is Mitha. So when Krishna, when the God himself appearing in this world, they are telling that Krishna's body is also Mitha. And what is only Shakti? Their conclusion is that only Shakti is the Brahma. Only Shakti is Brahma means the effulgence, the light is only the light. That is the Brahma Jyoti. that Brahmajyoti is Shakti. Apart from that, everything is Mithya. So that means, and there another thing is that this is one level of understanding. Another level is that Mayavadi propagated, the Mayavadi propaganda is that everyone is Brahma. Everyone is Brahma. We are actually Brahma, but by the influence of Maya, we have taken these various bodily form. So that Brahma has changed into this various living entity. So they are giving a Brahma Vaivarta philosophy. They have a various types of philosophy. So that I'm not going into the detail of it. It is a part of discussion of the Ishopanishad. So when we will discuss Ishopanishad, we will discuss more on this part. But actually, that means that they are denying that there is a supreme absolute truth, supreme absolute personality. So they deny that, and they propagated that everyone is God. Everyone is actually Brahma. So they say the Mayavadi Sannyashis, they address each other as a Narayana. Okay, so they say that everyone is Narayana. So everyone is Narayana means no one is actually Narayana. So it is actually a polished way or another version of atheism only. It is nothing else. It is another version of atheistic view. It is actually denial of the Supreme Personality of Godhead. So that type of Mayavadi interpretation is a form of misuse of our speech. So that one we need to understand. And then the Karmakanda propaganda. What is the Karmakanda propaganda? Karmakanda propaganda means that it is a legitimate way of enjoying this material world. So kurmi, what they are doing, the kurmi means, actually these terms will be more elaborately discussed when we will study Bhagavad Gita. Here it is just referred in the purport. I am just elaborating a little bit. Karmakanda propaganda means legitimate way of enjoying our senses. One example is that suppose there is liquor shop. Okay, now the liquor shop is there, and the liquor shop people are one person has opened the liquor shop, and he has got a license from the government. The government is now giving license. So according to that license, he has opened the liquor shop and he is selling liquor, and people are coming and paying money and buying that liquor and they are drinking it. So now this kind of enjoyment and they are enjoying in a systematic way. They are not like they are taking the drink, they are going back to their home, and in a decent way they are enjoying. So now this kind of enjoyment is not a punishable act. People can enjoy. Government will not punish or put behind the bar if someone is buying liquor and in the private room, in the private hotel, they are legitimately enjoying the drinking. That will not be a punishable offense. But drinking itself is actually entangling that person into the enjoyment, and actually it is dragging that living entity into the mode of ignorance and passion. So that's why that type of Karmakanda propaganda, if someone is doing, the Vedic, the Veda has actually this is a Vedic way. In the Veda also, there are legitimate way of material enjoyment. So that section is there. That is called Karmakanda section is there. It is like a large section of Vedic literature. But Srila Bhakti Siddhanta Saraswati Thakur is telling that part of Vedic literature is itself abuse of speech. Even in the Veda also, because that section has been actually given to attract the various population of the people, so that they come to one authority. At least they follow some authority. In an authoritative way, they do some material enjoyment, because otherwise people are actually inclined to enjoyment. Now, if they are going to unrestricted enjoyment, that is a very gross sinful activity will happen. So that's why they are bringing. So Vashdev has given this Vedic Karmakanda section for the people who are grossly afflicted with the mode of ignorance and passion. So for them, the Bhautik Karmakanda is there, but that part is actually, from Krishna conscious perspective, it is actually a waste of time, because ultimately, by enjoying, by doing in a legitimate way of enjoyment, will also lead, will not release one from the cycle of birth and death. So it will perpetually bind the enjoyer into the cycle of birth and death. So that's why that type of propaganda is also part of uncontrolled speech. And finally, the worst level of uncontrolled speech is materialistic, unrestricted enjoyment. So they are not going to follow any rules and regulations. They are just after enjoying the material senses. So that is actually the violation of illicit sex regulation principle, having multiple relationship with various women and man. Man is having multiple relationship with women apart from his wife, and wife is having multiple relationship with various man apart from his husband, her husband. So they are unrestrictedly want to enjoy their senses. That's it. They know only one thing, that I want to enjoy. This is one lifetime, one life I have got. I don't know anything. I just want to enjoy. So that type of mentality is this thing, and those who are propagating this thing through various media. So through various ways, by advertisement, by magazines, by those things will come. That now this is a rampant culture. This materialistic, unrestricted enjoyment is being advertised like anything. So this has now taken a global projalpanate. So throughout the media is actually just propagating this thing, and they are publishing so many videos, so many magazines, so many papers, and so many things are there just to unrestricted enjoyment. So those things are actually completely misuse of speech. People are reading, people are gossiping. They are gossiping with the they are making anyone as a celebrity, and they are making them as a role model through this propaganda. So all this propaganda is actually falling into this category. So now we are entrapped into this global projalpane. We are also sometimes getting influenced. So that's why we need to, as a devotee, we should be very much cautious that we should not be influenced. When we enter into internet, we are bombarded with all this type of various type of prajalpa. So this we have to safeguard ourselves, that this is actually will ruin my Krishna consciousness. Maybe I have a good intention to enter into the internet to search some lecture, but in between I am getting some advertisements. I am getting the trailer of some videos, some chatting I am exposed to. Those who are completely will take away from my destination of Krishna consciousness. So you have to be very much cautious. And then come the Mandal literature. Mandal literature is also literary gossip. Mandal literature means that simple love story. One just Romeo and Juliet story that will not going to help us in our Krishna consciousness. So people are reading, people are critics, they are critics. The literary critics are there, they are writing. Now the cinema is publishing, and the critics are writing on the cinema in the magazines, and that is being sold, and people are reading and they are replying, and so many things. And there are clubs. There are clubs in the name of cine clubs. I think many of you have heard of it. There are cine clubs, there are cine guild, they are publishing, and so many things are there. They have made an association of them, and they are discussing the cinema, what cinema they have made, which cinema, and throughout their life they have become very famous for doing this type of things. But it is completely a literary concept. This is not going to help. It going to help a living entity to develop their Krishna consciousness. So this is an abusement of our speech. So now what is the solution then? The solution is propagation of Srimad Bhagavatam. This is the only solution. And for that reason, Srila Prabhupada has taken so much hardship, so much hardship. He has not slept. He has slept only 2 hours. Only 2 hours. And he have kept on writing this, translating this Srimad Bhagavatam, because this Srimad Bhagavatam was mainly available in Bengali and Sanskrit literature, in Sanskrit and Bengali language. It was not available in English language. So Srila Prabhupada has taken this initiative under the instruction of his Guru Maharaj, Srila Bhakti-Chaitanya Saraswati Thakur, that you translate this Srimad Bhagavatam, this entire Vedic literature, Bhagavatam and Bhagavad Gita, into English and reach out to the English-speaking people of the world. So we are now grateful that Srila Prabhupada has given this Srimad Bhagavatam so wonderfully. He has presented so wonderfully. If anyone reads Srimad Bhagavatam, all his literary appetite will be completely fulfilled. All his intellectual appetite will be completely fulfilled. So there will not be any appetite, any hankering for gossiping mundane literature. They will lose all their propensity, if one starts reading Srimad Bhagavatam. So that's why this is very important. And because this Srimad Bhagavatam can do the most beneficial effect, can have the beneficial effect on the global consciousness of the mankind. And actually it has happened so. Just by publishing of his Srimad Bhagavatam and the books, Krishna consciousness books, Srila Prabhupada has won the heart of the entire world. He has established this Krishna consciousness movement as a global movement throughout the world. There are places where Srila Prabhupada has not been able to reach, but his book has reached, and his book has done the revolution in the heart of the people, because they have become pure devotee. They have started appreciating Krishna consciousness. People are now appreciating Krishna consciousness so wonderfully. So this is the effect. So there is a dearth of there is a vacuum. The people are looking for something better. Why they are reading? Why they are reading and why they are gossiping? Because they have the propensity to read and gossip. Because this is the urge. This is the urge. So that will naturally happen. So if we can propagate this, if we have this Krishna Katha, so there are 2 types of people. One is crow and one is swan. So in this verse, in the Srimad Bhagavatam 1.5, 10 and 11, Srila Prabhupada has referred in the purport. You can read. So I am not going to detail reading the purport, because I am expecting that you all are reading, and I am just selecting some important points and elaborating on that, so that we can complete it wonderfully and you can ask question also. So there are 2 categories of people. One is crow category and one is swan category. The swan category swan category people means the devotees, and the crow category people means the mundane people, materialistic people. And you know where swan actually want a place is a very crystal clean lake, where the atmosphere is very serene, wonderful, calm and quiet, very clean. There swan will go and will swim in the lake. And the crow is after where the garbage is there. So now it is up to us to become a crow-like devotee or a swan-like devotee. Actually, devotee means swan. So we need to be a crow-like living entity or a swan-like living entity. Swan-like living entity means becoming a devotee. Devotee means they will only indulge in Krishna Katha and the Krishna consciousness. Their activity, by their speech, they will only glorify Krishna. The activities of the glory of the Krishna. So any speech bereaved of Krishna is actually a gossip. Is actually a gossip, whoever it may be. Even I, with a tilak and kanthi, start speaking something bereaved of Krishna, that means I am actually gossiping. Even though, because that will not, tilak and kanthi will not make me a devotee, will not make me a swan-like devotee if I don't speak Krishna Katha. So Krishna Katha means topics related to Krishna. And where Krishna's name will be there. I will take in my speech, in my discourse, if that I keep aside Krishna, and I'm without taking Krishna's name, if I keep on speaking, so that will ultimately become a mundane topic. Because without Krishna, whatever you try to do, it is actually a Bachobega. It is not the control of Bachobega. It is actually the expression of Bachobega. So that's why we need to understand that we need to follow the Acharyas. Srila Krishna has sent us Srila Prabhupada, and Srila Prabhupada is following the previous Acharyas. He is not concocting anything of his own. He is giving exactly what he has learned from his Guru Maharaj, and we should also take it. And today's Srila Prabhupada's followers are actually those who are following Srila Prabhupada, and we need to follow their footsteps, that what Srila Prabhupada has given. So Srila Prabhupada is our founder Acharya. So we need to follow his style of preaching, because he has shown that by this way he has become successful in preaching. So that's why we need to propagate the message of Srimad Bhagavatam, and we need to speak on this Srimad Bhagavatam. So there may be some so-called spiritual organization, those who are not speaking about Krishna. So those spiritual organizations are actually, what they are giving lecture and whatever it may be, they are actually giving Bachobega. They are using their speech in a mundane way that will not going to help neither them nor anyone those who are hearing. That is for sure. So we need to understand that apart from Krishna Katha, whatever we are doing, it is just a crow-like activity. It is just the crow-like activity, nothing else. Coming to the next paragraph, the control of mind. Bachobegam manusha krodobegam. By the way, I would like to request all the devotees to, by heart, memorize this verse number 1, as much as possible. Because this verse, if you remember, if you recollect once every day, Bachobegam manusha krodobegam, Bachobegam manusha krodobegam, jihabegam mudar upastabegam, etan began javishahet dhira sarvanga bhimang prativingsha shishyate. So every time you recite this verse, the message of this verse will slowly embed in your mind. So that is nice to be done. So that's why I'm requesting everyone should memorize these words. Actually, the first 4 words is a very wonderful words to memorize for our lifetime asset. To make these 4 words your lifetime asset, because this will cement your foundation very wonderfully. So please memorize. So now coming to the control of mind. The mind actually is very difficult to control. And the mental art, Srila Bhaktisiddhanta Saraswati Thakur has categorized in 2 types. One is technical term, I will explain it, Avirodh Priti and Virodh Yukta Krodh. What is this Avirodh Priti? Avirodh Priti means we have and again he has categorized the Avirodh Priti into 3 parts: Mayavad, Karmakanda, and materialistic understood enjoyment. That means whatever we have discussed earlier as a speech, as a subject of speech, subject of Bachobegam, subject of abuse of speech, that becomes actually whatever we speak, or whatever we speak actually has a great influence on our mind. So why we speak? Because in our mind all those things are there. That's why whatever is said in our mind is coming through our speech. So that's why this subject matter is actually provoking us to speak about this, and mind is very much attracted to this type of philosophy. How the Mayavadi philosophy is very attractive, because Mayavadi philosophy is facilitating that you become a god. You are not a living entity, you are God. So this type of philosophy is actually very much attractive, particularly in Kali Yuga. Karma Kanda is giving a legitimate way to enjoyment. Yes, it is there in the Veda. You can enjoy. What is there? What is the problem? And materialistic unlimited enjoyment is just what this in today's Kali Yuga people are looking for. So now, after doing all these things, this is actually they are unrestrictedly, they have a priti. There is no restriction. Avirod means there is no restriction. So they are having, they are embracing this type of subject matter because mind is allured into this type of things. But what is the consequence? What is the result of this? What is happening with this unrestricted materialistic enjoyment? What is happening with this karmakandya enjoyment? What is happening with these Mayavadis? They are actually all baffled. Ultimately, they are suffering inside their mind. They are feeling a frustration. And when they are feeling frustration, because actually this is not our original position. This is not our constitutional position. We are doing something what we are not. So how we can get the satisfaction? It is not possible. It is completely impossible to derive any satisfaction from an artificial platform. From artificial platform, by elevating ourselves into an artificial platform, by standing on some artificial platform, we cannot enjoy. We cannot enjoy. So that's why that is creating a frustration. And when there is a frustration, the frustration is creating anger. So there is a virod. Avirod is what? That we are rushing towards this enjoyment. And after that, after rushing towards that enjoyment, we are finally understanding that I am not actually satisfied from my inside. And that's why what is the proof that we are not satisfied? Particularly the materialistic unrestricted enjoyment, the unrestricted materialistic enjoyer, they are always searching for a different kind of enjoyment. If they are satisfied with one kind of enjoyment, why they are looking for some variety? So that shows that they are not satisfied from inside. They are frustrated rather, and that frustration is creating a virod. Virod means a conflict. Virod means there is a dissatisfaction. Virod means there is a conflict, and that conflict is actually arising over anger. So that's why this virod yukta krodh. This is actually what is happening in the mind. Mind is actually, this is called sankalpa and vikalpa. Sankalpa means something mind is accepting, and after accepting, mind is finding that this is actually not I am searching for. This is actually not giving me that satisfaction. This is actually making me frustration. So leave it and accepting something else. And again, it is I'm accepting something else, and after some time I'm finding that is not also something I'm looking for. I need something else, so I'm rejecting. So I'm accepting, rejecting, accepting, rejecting. Virod, avirod, priti, virod, avirod, virod, avirod, virod. So this conflict is always going on inside the mind. So that is actually creating the mental urge. So that's why the mind is so unrestful. So this unrestfulness is due to this mental urge is working in this fashion. So this is the inner. This is actually a psychological analysis what Srila Bhakti Siddhanta Saraswati Thakur has given, that due to our lordship mentality, we want to take the position of Supreme Personality of Godhead. I want to become the enjoyer. I not want to become the enjoyed. I want to become the enjoyer, but our real position is not enjoyer. Our real position is to be enjoyed by Krishna. Something is like, suppose you have been given a Rasagolla. Now Rasagolla, if you keep it, I was hearing one lecture recently, Srila Prabhupada's lecture, and he was giving you the example that suppose you have been given a Rasagolla in your hand. Now, after getting the Rasagolla, if you keep it in your hand, can you enjoy it? You cannot enjoy it. Until and unless you put it inside your mouth, you cannot enjoy the Rasagolla. So similarly, our position is something like that. Until and unless we dovetail, our service attitude to Krishna, we will never be happy. So that's why, but instead of doing that, we are trying to enjoy this material world. So that's why this is the creating the main problem. So this is the mental arch. I think you have understood, or any problem, any understanding, is any further queries is there, you can ask me at the end. So this is the mental arch, and after that the discussion is on the bodily urges. The bodily urges has been categorized in a 3 category: the urge of tongue, the urge of belly, and urge of genital. So these thing, if you see, they are anatomically situated in our body in a one single line. The tongue, belly, and genital situated in a one single line. And it is said that among these bodily urges, the urge of tongue is the most voracious urge. So this is the voracious urge. From the tongue is having the voracious urge. And if one can control this tongue, this urge of tongue, that means the controlling urge of tongue means controlling the eating habit. If one regulate the eating habit, then naturally the belly and the genital will be regulated, will be controlled. So that's why understanding the control or regulation of tongue is very important, and that has been elaborated in from paragraph 14, 15, and 16. So in a gist, what is happening of all the senses, I'm not going into the detail of the purport. If you are already having the book, you can read. The most important point is that of all the senses, the tongue is the most voracious and uncontrollable. That is very, very, very difficult to control. And that's why the only solution of this controlling of the tongue is only eat prasadam. Only eat Sattvik prasadam. There is very, very elaborate discussion on this tongue, on this eating habit in Bhagavad Gita. When we will study Bhagavad Gita last chapter 4, the last section of the Bhagavad Gita, there are various categories of food. There are various categories, means this Sattva, Raja, Tamo we are discussing. This actually categorize not only our bodily, our nature, but also categorize the entire material world can be categorized into this Sattva, Raja, and Tamo. This is actually the fundamental element of the material creation. If we someday are able to read Bhagavatam, or if you can personally read Bhagavatam also, you can see there is a section called creation, and from chapter canto 1 to 3, so there this material mode of creation is discussed, and there you can see this Sattva, Raja, Tamo is there as a fundamental building blocks of everything. As Srila Prabhupada has given one understanding that this 84 lakh species we are seeing, it is also Sattva, Raja, Tamo 3. This 3 is like a primary color. This primary color is there now. I think red, blue, and yellow is the primary color. So now by the combination, mixing, permutation and combination of mix and choice of this color is actually creating various modes. So this create various modes means the entire flora and fauna, the entire living entity can be categorized into this. So the food we are having, that is also categorized into Sattva, Raja, and Tamo. So as a devotee, if we want to control our tongue, we need to offer Krishna Sattvik Bhoga, and after, by the blessing of Krishna, when it becomes prasadam, we need to take that Sattvik prasadam. In a nutshell, this is the gist. Instead of eating anything and anywhere at any time, if we can regulate that I only eat, my tongue will not touch anything which is not prasadam. So if we can come to this understanding, then our tongue can be controlled. And if tongue is controlled, control of belly and genital is very, very easy. So there are some highlights from the control of tongue from this paragraph. There are 6 kinds of rasas. Rasa means taste: salty, bitter, sour, pungent, sweet, and astringent. So there are these type of things, and that's why the 3 and these 6 category are actually categorized into 4 type of food. Charbo, chosho, lechopeo. Charbo means something we are chewing. Charbo. Chosho means something we are juicy. Chosho. Charbo, chosho, lecho. Lecho means something like chutney, something like that, jelly. Lecho, peo. Peo means something drinking. Something we are drinking. Peo. Chorbo chosho lecho peo. Lecho means something that is, I think, the juicy food is there. The curry. So that kind of food. So this 4 kind of food is there to satisfy our tongue. And in the prasadam actually, the ideal diet is like that, to have a combination of these 4 kind of food, so that these 6 kind of taste is relished by the tongue, and tongue is satisfied, and the prasadam can actually fulfill that hankering of the tongue. And so that if we can take prasadam in this way, then we will not be victimization of the mayas, alluration of eating something else. So that's why the result is that if we follow these instructions, our tongue will be automatically regulated, and we will become bona fide devotee. And the urge of stomach is that the stomach disease happens due to this urge of stomach. Urge of stomach means that eating in an unregulated way, eating at any time, whenever I am feeling hungry. Until I am not feeling hungry, I will not eat. I will not have any regulation that when to eat, and as a result, my hunger is also unregulated. So sometimes I am eating very late night, and I am sleeping, and that's why when I am waking up, I am feeling very uneasy in my stomach. So many problems is happening, and that's why this Udara Vega cannot be controlled. The urge of stomach can be controlled only by supplying prasadam at a regulated time. This time is very important, and that's why. And further that, in addition to that, if we can observe this Ekadashi, this day after tomorrow is the Ekadashi, and Janmashtami is the appearance day of Lord's appearance. So these things will actually help us regulate control our urge of stomach. So this thing is very important. So, but most important is the tongue. Tongue is the most important. Once tongue is regulated, the belly can be regulated very easily, and accordingly the genital can also be regulated. The genital, in this section, Srila Prabhupada has mentioned there are 2 types of marriage. One is the problem of genital. The urge of genital is the unnecessary involvement in illicit sexual relationships, and the solution is only using the genital for begetting Krishna conscious children. And further to that, there are illegal way of abusing the genital is that is not mentioned in the Shastra. That is doing something beyond the Shastra, having illicit way of enjoying this genital, artificial way of enjoying genital is actually making, by doing that, we are nothing but we are exciting the genital. We are making genital unrestricted. We are making genital very much provoking actually genital to be abused in a detrimental way, and that is actually creating havoc in our today's society. The today's society is actually propagating, is bombarding to agitating the genital urge of genitals actually. And it is actually, instead of genitals means, the word genitals word is actually related to the generation. It is generation means the procreation. So anything apart from procreation is actually a misuse of genitals. So that's why the genital should be used for procreation and not for any kind of recreation. The genital is not meant for recreation. So we have to come to this understanding that genital should be used only for procreation with legitimate spouse. It is not that the illegitimate way we should use for procreation also. So procreation should be also. And Krishna is telling that this legitimate way of indulging in sex is Krishna himself. So that's why we need to understand. If we read Bhagavad Gita, Krishna is telling that this is the way we should use the genital and not abuse it. Because this And yesterday, and in the last class also, I have mentioned that misusing of genital means, if we are indulging in recreative sexual activity, means we are thinking that I am male or I am female. That means that we are getting more attached to that identity. Is it not? So when we are using this genital in our recreative way, that means we are again and again coming to this point that I am this body, I am this body, I am this body. But actually I am not this body. So we are actually denying our real identity and we are embracing some artificial identity, and that's why the enjoyment is actually what we are getting out of that artificial identity is also artificial, and that will never ever make me happy. So that's why it is actually good for nothing. Yet yes, it can be used as a responsible way. In a responsible way means okay, I want to marry. No problem. Marriage is not restricted, and even sex is also not restricted, but it is regulated. That is restriction and that is regulation. That is unrestriction and that is regulation. So we are telling that come to the platform, transit ourselves from unrestricted sexual habit to restricted sexual habit, unrestriction to regulation. So regulate this sexual activity is actually the way of controlling the genital, but it cannot be done in isolation with forgetting other things. So we have to follow the entire process. Entire process, whatever we have discussed till now, we have to follow the entire flow. First, we have to control the tongue. If we control the tongue, the belly will be controlled. When the belly is controlled, the genital will automatically control. But obviously, we need to also endeavor separate it out. So we need to understand the flow of the flow of control also. Because the tongue is acting as a radar. Until and unless tongue is controlled, these things cannot be controlled properly. So finally, we are at the conclusion Srila Prabhupada has mentioned a wonderful words in the conclusion that Motirna Krishne Parato Shato Va Mitho Ovi Pattate Griho Vartanam Adanto Govir Vishotam Tomisram Punah Punas Charvita Charvanam. I think this Charvita Charvanam word is very much familiar in Bengali language also. Sometimes we say Charvita Charvanam. Charvita Charvanam means what? Charvita Charvanam means just we are seeing this sugarcane juice. In the one picture, the person is enjoying the sugarcane, and in the second picture, it is a remnants after the juice is taken out. The juice has been relished. It is thrown away. So the material enjoyment is like this chewing the chewit. Material enjoyment is nothing like the chewing the chewit. People have by unrestrictedly abusing these 6 urges, people have enjoyed enough. We have also enjoyed enough in our material life, but have we become happy? Have we become satisfied? No, because that enjoyment is actually the chewing the chewit. We have taken if someone is picking up from the garbage this chewed sugarcane and start to extract some juice, what will happen? Whether he will get any juice out of it, he will not get any juice, and he will never be satisfied. So actually, that is actually happening. That if we are trying to extract juice from these senses, these senses are not us. These senses are instrument to do service for Krishna. Rishikeno Rishikesho Shavanam Bhakti Ruchyate. Rishikesho, Rishik means senses, and Rishikesho means the Lord of the senses. The Lord of the senses, if the senses should be used for the service of the Lord of the senses. We are thinking that we are the Lord of the senses. We are thinking we are Rishikesho. It is actually Mayavadi thing. When we are trying to enjoy with our senses, it is actually a Mayavadi philosophical indirect influence, because we are thinking we are enjoying. But actually that is not so. So that means we have to come out from this point. That is, instead of serving the senses, we have to master our senses. We have to master means how we can become master? We cannot become master until and unless we actually engage the senses to the original master of the senses, and that is the master is Krishna. So until and unless we engage our senses in the master of the senses, we cannot control these senses. So this is just the synopsis map. Entire thing has been conceptualized. So now the question comes, how long we need to tolerate the urges? According to Bhagavad Gita 5.23, before giving up this present body, if one is able to tolerate the urges of the mental senses and check the force of desire and anger, he is well situated and is happy in this world. So these urges will always provoke us. It's every day, every minute, situations may be there to provoke us. So we need to tolerate again and again if we want to come to the spiritual platform. That is what Srila Prabhupada has mentioned in purport 5.23. I will request everyone to read this 5.23 purport of their own. You will understand that finally it is not a one-day practice. Throughout our lifetime practice, we have to always tolerate. This material world will be there to provoke us. There will be material situation to provoke us, but we have to tolerate. We have to tolerate again and again. So that's why it is a lifelong vow of tolerance. Today onwards, this verse is giving us a final conclusion that we have to tolerate these urges throughout our life. If we have to keep away from sinful desire, we have to tolerate. The sinful desire will be there, will pop up in our mind, and it may provoke us, but we have to tolerate it again and again and again and again. And we will become more powerful. We will get the power of tolerance more we practice Krishna consciousness. More we chant, more we associate, more we engage our senses in the service of Krishna, we will develop the tolerance, and one day will come when the entire provocation will go away and we will not be provoked. We will come to equanimity and there will not be any provocation. So thus end our today's class. So anybody has any question, any comment, anything, they can unmute themselves and can tell, or can raise hand and I can unmute them so that they can express their view. I am completed here. The verse 1 is ending today, ended. So any question, any clarification, anything is there, you can ask. Or else we can end the class here if anyone does not have any query.
Hare Krishna, Prabhuji.
Yes, Prabhuji. Sukanta Prabhu.
Yeah, Prabhuji, I have one question. It is like you mentioned that we have to restrict our tongue, so basically the taste, and we have to avoid the palatable taste of it. But normally the prasadam we have to always take. But when in the occasions, like in the Krishna's Janmashtami and all these occasions, we offer many palatable foods for Krishna's enjoyment. So that I have a doubt on it. So whether we should offer it for the Krishna, all those palatable dishes.
Very good question. Very wonderful question. Thank you for asking this question. I will refer to the Nectar of Instruction book. From there, I will try to say one point. Actually, the entire enjoyment should be for Krishna. Okay. Krishna is actually our main object of. Krishna is the enjoyer. Okay. And we should facilitate Krishna's enjoyment. So Krishna is the Bhokta. Bhoktaram. Krishna has one name is called Bhoktaram. Bhoktaram means he is a real enjoyer. And we are like Upobhokta. He is the primary enjoyer and we are secondary enjoyer. So when we offer palatable dishes, primarily for the enjoyment of Krishna. So primary intention should be to please Krishna's senses, not our senses. And when Krishna enjoys it, when Krishna being offered that food stuff, we should feel the real satisfaction. And then when we accept as a prasadam after Krishna's enjoyment, as a upabhokta, as a secondary enjoyment, that will satisfy our senses. That will also give some, that will also satisfy our senses, but that satisfaction will give with the inner fulfillment. It will not create a hankering. What happens, I have seen that when I was not taking prasadam before joining Krishna consciousness, sometimes I am relishing some food, something is very wonderful. Even though I am relishing many sumptuously, I am not satisfied inside my heart. But Krishna prasadam, the same item may be there, but the Krishna prasadam particularly says sweet. I am very much fond of sweet. So when, before coming to Krishna consciousness, when I used to enjoy sweet item, I was enjoying, but I was not feeling satisfaction. But what happens in Krishna consciousness, when I enjoy sweet items, which is offered to Krishna first, and I'm honoring as a prasadam the remnants, it gives satisfaction after eating little bit also. Little bit, it is very tasty, but it gives such a satisfaction that I don't need no more. I'm okay. Say Rasagalla 2 or 3, it is okay. But previously, maybe I was taking 5 Rasagalla, it was not satisfied. I need more. I am looking for something else. So that dissatisfaction was there. So this is the one thing that happens, that when we offer palatable dishes, we can satisfy our senses also satisfactorily. So this is the one way of understanding. Another way of understanding is that, another point is that what happens actually at our neophyte stage, at our primary stage of practice, what happens? Sometimes we want to enjoy something, and keeping in that mind, we are offering some food. So that mind, actually a very neophyte mind, that should not happen. But normally many times it happens because we are not up to as a pure stage. So sometimes it happens that whatever, particularly in home, in temple it is fine. So in the temple, when we are offering, like in Govardhan Puja, we are offering the huge amount of food stuff directly to Krishna. So and we are relishing the feast also. So Krishna consciousness is one way, is a feasting, is a feasting culture. Is a feasting is there. So prasadam we should relish in that way, so that we can feast on it. So that's why here it is, I'm just searching one verse where actually Chaitanya Mahaprabhu has instructed. Yes, this is the verse. Chaitanya Mahaprabhu actually has said, I am highlighting this verse. Can everyone see this verse? Has said that bhalo na khaive, bhalo na koribe. Do not dress luxuriously and do not eat delicious food stuff. It means that we should not have the intention to enjoy delicious food stuff, and that's why we are offering palatable dishes to Krishna. No, that should not be the mentality. The mentality should be that I should offer palatable dishes to Krishna, so that Krishna can enjoy and I can enjoy remnants of that food. And also in Krishna Prasadam, it is said that we should not honor a huge amount of palatable food stuff that I want to eat. We should not do that. Rather, we should distribute the prasadam to many people, even to among the non-devotees, because everyone want to eat, and devotee or non-devotee, irrespective of that, people relishes prasadam, and that is their primary connection with Krishna. So this prasadam distribution can be a wonderful preaching opportunity for us. So this is the point as mentioned in the purport by Chaitanya Mahaprabhu. So anything else? Acha, Karan Prabhu has written that, can it be said that by controlling the urge of tongue, by having prasadam, one can also control the urge of mind and body? Obviously, to some extent like that, but mind and body exactly cannot be controlled fully by the control of tongue. And why? How it can be controlled? When we are relishing the prasadam, it is said, yes, it is also said that the Krishna consciousness started from the tongue. Okay, so in addition to honoring prasadam, in order to control the mind and body, we need to also chant Hare Krishna Mahamantra with our tongue. So if we can do these two activity by our tongue, then naturally the Krishna consciousness will be revealed in our heart. Will be revealed in our heart. That verse is there. That jihado means Ato Sri Krishna Namadi Navavet Gracham Indriyoi Shevana Mukhe Hi Jihado Swayameva Spuradat. Atho Sri Krishna Namadi. This Krishna Nam and Adi means Krishna. This Krishna consciousness is actually transcendental. It is not only beyond these three modes, but it is a Shuddha Sattva stage. It is not only Sattik stage, it is Shuddha Sattik stage. That is beyond these three modes of limitation, beyond the limitation of these three modes. But we are seeing this Krishna consciousness with the binding of three modes. So how we can do this? That's why Atho Sri Krishna Namadi Nabhavet Grajyam Indriyoi. By our Indriyo we cannot appreciate Krishna consciousness. But how we can do it? Shevano Mukhe Hi Jihado. Jihado means by doing from the Jiha only, if we can start from this Jiha, this tongue can deliver us. If we can engage this tongue only into activity, Prabhupada has mentioned this many times. Chant Hare Krishna, glorify Krishna by your tongue, and honor only Krishna Prasad. This tongue should not touch Krishna. Anything else from Krishna Prasad. If we can restrict these two things, if we can follow this thing till our last breath, it is assured that the death will be the glorious death. How? We will close our eyes in this material world and open our eyes on the lap of Krishna. That much I can assure. That much Srila Prabhupada has assured. That much our parampara has assured. That if we can control the arch of tongue, we can deliver ourselves from the clutches of Rajo and Tamo and even of Shattaguna. We can come to the real stage of Goswami. So I think we should end here. Sorry, extremely sorry for the initial problem, because due to the connectivity issue and also the microphone issue, I am trying to rectify. Let's see how it works. So please forgive me for that inconvenience. But I think we have completed our verse as required. So if any further question is there, you can ask, and I will soon post the assignment for the entire verse so that you can write whatever way you can write. So that will be wonderful. Okay. So please give your permission. Hare Krishna. Meet you next week once again. So apart from this, you can read the verse 2, that is that verse and the purport, so that we can start next week. Prabhuji, the result actually, as this is not a quiz type question, Prabhuji Prabhu is asking about the result of the last test. So I have not given any marks as such. It is just an evaluation of like what you have, or you can say the expression of your learning.
At least we should understand whether you are right or wrong. I mean, whether you are
right. Most of the thing is right. It is right.
Okay.
Your I have that's why initially only I have told that most of your answer was in correct understanding. Only thing that's why previously I have initially when I started I clarified the answers a little bit, that the ultimate goal is to become pure devotee and appreciate the exalted pastime of Radha and Krishna. And the primary goal is to control the urges of mind and senses, to regulate our mind and senses, so that it can be used in Krishna's service, not in our service. So that's why we can end in in this way. Atmendriyo pritivancha tare kahe kam, Krishnendriyo pritivancha thare premo naam. This is there in Chaitanya Charitamrita. When we are trying to satisfy our indriyo, Atmendriyo pritivancha tare kahe kam. That is the actual calm, that is enjoying, that is calm. And that is called lust. And Krishnendriyo pritivancha thare premo naam. That is the love. So you have to come to that platform. From the lust to love. Our heart is actually rusted by lust. So we have to remove this lust, this rust of lust by chanting Hare Krishna Mahamantra, by associating, by hearing, by reading Srila Prabhupada books, by following the instruction that we are getting from Srila Prabhupada books. So that's why, by trying that also. And yesterday I was hearing that when Krishna sees that someone is trying, he may not be successful in doing so. But if we are sincerely trying, Krishna helps us. That is the beauty of Bhakti Yoga. Krishna gives full support, full help, so that we can progress very nicely. Okay, so let us try. We may not come to an overnight journey. That today we have ended. Actually, this verse has not ended actually today. Actually, rather we can say that this verse actually has started today in our life, so that today we can take this verse onwards till our last breath. It is actually the starting point. It is not the ending point of this class. The real class is actually when we come to, we implement these teachings, imbibe this teaching, and be successful in our life. Thank you so much. Hare Krishna. I am ending the class. Thank you for your tolerance. You are already tolerated.
Hare Krishna.
Thank you. Hare Krishna.
Hare Krishna.
Hare Krishna.
Hare Krishna.
Hare Krishna.